Again. Morning, gang. It's Thursday, at the middle. Again, talking about hypocrisy in DC. I wanted to do something that's a little bit more evergreen, especially because we're repurposing this to Spotify and other podcasts. Sorry, I've got a puppy that's at my feet. She wants to play and doesn't know that Dad needs to work today. It's 11:01 here in Tampa, 8:01 out in Vegas on the left coast, 4:01 p.m. with our folks in London, 17:01 in Berlin, Gaza, 18:01 in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Kyiv, and Moscow, 11:01 p.m. Perth, Australia. It's a minute after midnight in Tokyo, and 1:01 a.m. in Melbourne, Sydney, and Canberra. This is Up the Middle. You're listening to or watching the Mastiff Media Network. Thanks for joining us. Again, hypocrisy today. I got to move a microphone out of my face here for a minute. Hypocrisy. I was on Travis Evans' show Tuesday night, The Point with Travis Evans. You can find it. Google that on Facebook or search it on Facebook. He streams it to Facebook. And by the way, only one more day before Gaza moves their clocks forward an hour. I was on Travis's show Tuesday night, and one of the things I pointed out, like a personal stat, was that I had been an umpire, a baseball umpire, since I was 12 years old. And I'm not any of these anymore, but a baseball umpire since 12, an ice hockey referee since 13, a police officer since like 27 or 28, 27 actually, and a Secret Service agent since 28. I spent my life being impartial. So when I come on here every day, and I pretty much talk about MAGA, Republicans in general, which, by the way, is not necessarily MAGA. And I'm saying that as a political scientist by education. This Monday, it'll be 3 weeks ago, that we had a video taken down off of the episode, the Monday episode, taken down off of YouTube. And I don't know what was wrong with the episode. I've since watched it twice. But YouTube took it down because it was misleading. The title of that episode had something to do, I don't remember exactly because I'm ad-libbing this part, but the title of that episode had something to do with our comparison to MAGA, the MAGA Republicans, being the real rhinos, not the original Republicans. And our point being, and I think I worded this safely. I didn't know what the problem. I still don't know what the problem was. YouTube doesn't tell you. I mean, I appealed the decision, and I wasn't finished pressing the button on my mouse. I wasn't finished clicking when the reply came back that the appeal was denied. But we were comparing MAGA Republicans to who I believe to be normal Republicans, in that they're the ones that are the rhinos, Republicans in name only. And now there's my whole career in the Secret Service. My whole career has been stressed with the emphasis of OPSEC, what's called the government loves their abbreviations and acronyms. OPSEC is operational security. The one thing that the government did well to us was in forcing or stressing the purpose and the need for operational security. And then we have Signalgate. And before that, we had Hillary's emails, which, to be clear, was a problem. Nothing close to Signalgate. I know, because those servers were right outside our office. Actually, right further inside our office. It was deep. I'm not going to say where, but it was deep inside Hillary Clinton's house, right at our security room, our office space. And so nobody was screwing with the servers. We know about it. You would come right through our space to get to those servers. I've got a puppy a 45-pound puppy that thinks she's a lap dog. And so she wants to be on the show today. And then we turn around. Oh, there's a nose, if you see it on video. And then we turn around and have Signalgate. And you would think that such snafus are over. I actually had this up. Give me a second. Yeah, I found that. I don't know why. There we go. When something like that happens, after that same the basis, the backbone of that administration, Trump, spent his first part of his Trump 1.0, we'll call it, lock her up. Remember those chants? And now the same people running the government, some of the same people that were in or close to Signalgate are all over Venmo. And what I think is particularly interesting about this story, big deal. So they're using Venmo to transfer money to buy drinks or, as you'll see, pay the cleaning lady. But as the one guy words his gambling habit, it could lead to a lot more. Yet these are the people that are legislating morality, like abortion and gambling laws. This is coming from notice.org. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know who that is. I saw this in my feed earlier, and that this was the source of the story. And I read the story, and I'm like, this is actually pretty interesting. So I'm going to share it with you now. 1-888-88-YERGS or 844-GAY-LGBT. Or, of course, there's the chat. Those of you over on Instagram, I'll verbally give your chat there over the air, because it's not connected. Even though I broadcast to Instagram from Restream, it doesn't connect the chat on Restream. So I don't know why that is. We're on Radio X in Perth, Australia. Shout out to our friends down under, WZQR in Pineland, Florida. Those call letters actually represent 7 different stations. There's the FM station, which is down by Naples. But then they've got 7 online stations. If you just go to WZQR.FM, scroll down to WZQR Talks, it's their talk station. And we're on there right now, and we are in replay over the weekends. Rainbow Radio, Yergs Radio. Oh, you know what I need to add here? DNR Studios. Go to dnrstudios.com and download the DNR Cast. That's their app. It's a monthly membership. It's not just me. There's probably about a dozen shows, and then there's podcasts as well, to include ours, is available in podcast form. And then they just got back from a cruise. So yesterday was their first day back from that. There's a travel agency that's connected with it. There's games, there's recipes, there's subscriber interaction. It's kind of like a mini Facebook in that regard, or Twitter, maybe. But yeah, check them out, dnrstudios.com. Oh, I didn't put that right there. dnrstudios.com, Rainbow Radio. Go to rainbowradio.gay. We haven't really launched that station yet, but the URL does work, and Sportcat and I both broadcast live to it. We'll be live on there all afternoon. Sportcat's still in Knoxville with family, so we'll have Mastiff Media Magazine right after the show today, up until 4 p.m. our time, for the next 3 hours after the show today, when Mates Helping Mates takes over, and then another Mastiff Media Magazine, followed by Outrage Overload by David Beckmeyer. And I think it's Coyote Small Business Podcast at 7 p.m. our time, in the evening our time. So, hypocrisy and the people running the government letting it all hang out on Venmo. Notice it's easily identified Venmo accounts tied to more than 3 dozen Trump administration officials and more than 50 current members of Congress. Their transactions are revealing, as are their friends lists. And this is the thing about, friending somebody on something, like, you know what you're going to do with your own security. But what are they going to do? And then they go crying about the border. It's 2025, gang. The border, as far as security, is the least of our problems. It took about 5 minutes to find a dozen members of Congress on Venmo. Oh, I got to sign up to keep reading for free. I read this whole thing on another source. That's interesting. Create an account, news@yergs.com. We'll use that one. Oh, I hate these things. Now I got to do like a sign-in passcode thing. Well, it was fast. Yeah, if you saw those 4 letters, or numbers rather, it's a temporary thing. It's not going to help you access our account. Okay. It took about 5 minutes to find a dozen members of Congress on Venmo. Ultimately, over the course of about a week, Notice identified the Venmo accounts of more than 50 current lawmakers, more than 20 former members of Congress, and more than 3 dozen current Trump administration officials and nominees. Wow. I mean, that's 70 and another 36. That's more than 100 people that they took the time to look up. And of the chances that they are or are not on Venmo, this is some tedious work. For most people, there are plenty of reasons why you wouldn't want someone looking at your Venmo account. The members of Congress and senior officials of Donald Trump's administration, there are even more reasons to keep your Venmo private, which is an option, by the way. I'm on Venmo. I just don't tell the world that I'm buying somebody a drink. Who cares? Besides the privacy violation that may lead to embarrassing or inappropriate details of your life and associates, one of the risks that adversaries might target are your contacts. If they compromise a close account, they are more likely to be successful sending a convincing phishing message that appears to be from that person. That is from Katie Masouras, a cybersecurity researcher and entrepreneur. And if you remember, that was exactly the premise that was it Jeff Goldberg of The Atlantic experienced. He thought it was something what's called phishing, PHISHING. It's where bad guys kind of just like reach out and pretend to be somebody else and try to get information. And yet, among all the lawmakers and White House staff Notice was able to identify on Venmo, almost everyone had their friends list open to the public. Some even had public transactions revealing all sorts of insights into their private lives. Take, for instance, Rep. Steve Womack. The senior proprietor apparently has a penchant for making bets on major golf championships. Or as he sometimes refers to his losing picks, donations. Masters 21 donation, he wrote in the caption to one of his friends on April 6th, 2021. None of the majors in 2021 appeared to be kind to Womack. On May 17th of that year, he made a PGA donation, followed by a U.S. Open Championship contribution. On June 16th, followed by a donation for poor Open picks. So there's a screenshot, and I'll put this link in the notes so you can get that. What I don't like about that as a fraud investigator is that he's showing those payments. Venmo allows you to create a receipt, and he's showing those payments as contributions and donations. Is he going to try and write them off? Is my question. I'm not accusing him of doing that. But that's not probable cause, but it would certainly be reasonable suspicion as a fraud investigator or as a tax fraud investigator to look into his banking and other personal items that he's already got in the public. And now that this has been published, it's in an even greater public domain. Some profiles don't give away much. Rep. David Valadeo has just one listed friend, a former legislative assistant. But other accounts for these public officials boast hundreds of connections and detailed transactions dating back years. Why? Why do you want to leave that sitting around? That makes zero sense, gang. Nothing. Among the thousands of public transaction notice looked at, there's Rep. Greg Landsman paying his sister for some concert I didn't even go to. There's Rep. Abraham Hamadeh. Sorry, I'm going to need to wear glasses trying to read from the screen. Receiving a payment for hookah for flake. There you go. And there were Rep. Mark Mesmer's payments for puzzles and snow removal earlier this year. While most of the transactions appear benign, some of the information, if left public, could be used for more nefarious ends. In 2023, Rep. Jennifer Kiggins paid a woman for house cleaning, appending her exact home address to the transaction description, along with the words, Thank you so much. The information was left on her public account from December 2023 until Monday, when Notice asked her office about it. The profile bore her full name and included a close-up image of her face, making her remarkably easy to identify. Oh, here's a good one. Not going to feel bad about this one. That information was left up. Oh, sorry, wrong one. These people in Congress and on the executive branch teams, we think of them as people that have done a lot of things and know a lot of things, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're particularly internet savvy. And that's more or less where this all comes from. Application Security Specialist Bill Sempf. It does not surprise me at all that you find a large portion of Congress in there. Former Rep. Debbie McCarsell-Powell, who just ran against Rick Scott and lost, although I tried to help her out, never got a return call, was the Florida Democratic Senate candidate who ran against and lost to Senator Rick Scott in 2024. Her account received payments for donation and Debbie for Florida in the run-up to that election. I'm looking at these. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 that they're showing in this article, screenshots. This smells like, I don't know, because I'm not up on that. I'll have to ask Matt Deemer. This smells like a campaign violation. Use of Venmo is bipartisan and bicameral. Katie Britt, Roger Wicker, and Ruben Callego were among the senators whose profiles Notice easily found. Those and other lawmakers and White House officials have made an effort to make their transactions private, or at least most transactions are private. It is possible to make all past transactions private, but it's an option deep in the Venmo settings that many people never seem to find. Most of the government officials Notice identified also have not taken the additional step of making their friends list private. Nor did most of them prevent their profile from appearing on other users' friends lists, which is yet another setting. While it may seem largely harmless to allow people to look at who you're connected with on Venmo, security specialists that Notice talked to emphasize that it's a vulnerability, particularly for government officials. Absolutely. We were told about that constantly, about connections, who you're associated with, how other people can get your info from other connections, and yeah. Not only is it a potential public tip jar, one that could be used to send direct messages to these influential figures, but it's also a social network map. Among the more major names Notice found were Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, shocker, Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, and Trade Advisor Peter Navarro. Like most White House officials, all three men have kept their friends list open, providing a window into their connections with journalists, lobbyists, and other associates. Also, among the White House staff with publicly viewable friends lists, there's Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, Deputy Chief of Staff James Blair, newly appointed U.S. Attorney for New Jersey Alina Habba, and White House Staff Secretary Will Scharf. Scharf has 4 listed friends, among them Matthew Foldy, a failed Republican congressional primary candidate who founded the conservative outlet The Washington Reporter. Reporters from Politico, Semaphore, CNN, and the New York Times were often interspersed among the various friends lists for lawmakers and White House officials. In fact, because certain reporters are so well connected, it made it remarkably easy to find members of Congress and see who may have at one point been a source. Oh, well, let's talk about security. Let's talk about emails. To compile our list, Notice simply went through the friends list of a few people with established ties to lawmakers. This is how this is done, gang. This is how this is done. It might seem tedious, but it's practical. They're going to a normal source that would be connected to these other people. Typically, one lawmaker would be connected to at least a few other lawmakers. And by going through each lawmaker's friends list, we quickly built out a constellation of connections, with some friends lists proving to be gold mines. For example, former Rep. Duncan Hunter's Venmo was one of the first we found. Among his 234 friends are a number of retired lawmakers. At the very top of his Venmo friends list is former Rep. Aaron Schock, Republican gay boy from Wisconsin. Very anti-LGBT until he went to, what was that festival? The one out in the desert, not Burning Man, but I'll think of it later. It's out near Palm Springs. But if you continue through Hunter's connections, you'll also find former reps Frank Guinta, Jack Kingston, John Runyon, Mark Sanford, Mike Gallagher, Patrick Mahenry, Renee Elmers, Sean Duffy, Steve Stivers, and Tim Griffin. You also find Senator Gallego and, curiously, former Major League Baseball player Aubrey Huff. Kurt Schilling, who, like Huff, dabbles in far-right politics, also comes up as a connection with some Republican politicos and journalists. But every former lawmaker connected to Hunter, with the exception of Griffin, had a public friends list. And searching each of their friends lists reveals a similar constellation of lawmakers, lobbyists, and staffers. Going through this exercise again and again, one often sees familiar names and mutual connections. There is also no shortage of lawmakers who can be easily identified just by searching the app. Several utilize Venmo's default username format, first name, last name. Some even use their congressional portraits as their profile photos, including Reps. William Timmons, Laurel Lee, and Mark Alford. The fact that so many senior White House officials continue to showcase what is effectively a snapshot of their contacts lists on a public account is all the more notable in the wake of the administration's Signalgate fiasco last month. National Security Advisor Michael Waltz inadvertently added Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, to a group text where senior officials detailed secret overseas attack plans, but denied that they were attack plans. Trump was more upset that Waltz had Goldberg in his contacts than anything else. A source familiar with the president's thinking told Notice, if that's the case, Trump may take issue with so many of his staffers being connected to journalists. One of the more interesting takeaways from repeatedly going through the friends list of lawmakers and White House officials is just how many of their connections are reporters. Waltz himself had also left his Venmo profile publicly open until recent. When Wire reported on the existence of the account, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth also took down his Venmo, and with his public friends list after reporting into his account in February. Vice President J.D. Vance did the same thing after his account was uncovered in 2024. Or at least he was a no-name senator then. The pattern of Venmos being disclosed and then deleted does not appear to have inspired all that many West Wing officials to take basic steps to secure their accounts. Why is this not done from the beginning? It's complacency, one, my opinion. Remember, I got to keep telling you this is my opinion, regardless of how much experience I have not being in this story. I will tell you about one learning experience that I had early in my career. Innocent, but as is much of this, to be clear. So some Congress lady paid a cleaning lady and was thankful for it. I think that's a good thing that she is willing and able to express her gratitude. Just don't bitch about other people having their things out there. Deputy Director of Faith Engagement Jackson Lane and Special Assistants to the President Margot Martin and Theo Merkel not only have their friends list public, they also have some publicly viewable transactions. Any of the transactions are entirely innocuous. I accidentally sent the wrong person money. Can you please accept this so I will not be charged? Wrote Martin, one payment from years ago. But some transactions offer insight to the state of mind of some administration staffers. Here we go. Just days before January 6th, 2021, as Trump sought to overturn the election results, some White House staff took part in what one described as not a goodbye party. Per a transaction from then White House staff assistant Ariel Abergel to then White House receptionist Chamberlain Harris. The transaction description aged well. 4 years later, Harris is back in the White House. Several accounts, both from White House staff to lawmakers, detail years' worth of transactions from fantasy football bets to rent, utilities payments, making it clear not only who officials are close with outside of work, but in some cases, who exactly they live with. That's why security clearance exists, to prevent people with big egos from doing stupid stuff like this, Semp said. This is the one security guy. If any of these people had actually been cleared by the actual security clearance superstructure within the federal government, all of these things would have been found out long ago. Amen. On the first day of his second term in office, Trump issued a memo that allowed a number of staffers to immediately receive interim top secret sensitive compartmental information security clearances for 6 months. The White House later stopped the FBI's background checks into administration officials, moving the process to the Pentagon to expedite it. One White House official told Notice, Trump doesn't give a crap about a security structure, about people passing clearance. He doesn't care about any of that. I totally agree. He doesn't think actually anything useful is done. I mean, that just details his own inexperience with what he's pretending to be doing as an executive. A handful of Trump administration nominees also have public accounts, including Surgeon General nominee Janet Nesherwhite. Wow. Can't you get just like normal names? Ambassador to Canada nominee Pete Hoekstra, and Secretary of the Army nominee Daniel Driscoll. I wonder if that's the guy that was just put in charge of the ATF. The connections stretch across administrations. Deputy Assistant to the President Sam Adolphson is listed as being friends with David Sorensen, who resigned from the first Trump administration after domestic abuse allegations. The accounts also give insights into administration officials' connections to various commentators, activists, and provocateurs. Staffer Justin Caporal is friends with Sean Spicer, who in turn is friends with Jake Paul, who in turn is friends with ex-Trump official Anthony Scaramucci. Navarro is friends with Tucker Carlson, who is well over 500 publicly listed friends on his account. Among them are other fingers from Trump world and conservative media, including Jenna Ellis, the lawyer and Trump co-defendant who pled guilty in Georgia election case, James O'Keefe, the founder of the far-right activist group Project Veritas, and Benny Johnson, Benny boy, the former reporter turned Trump talking head. Also on that list is Laura Loomer, the fringe nutty activist who successfully encouraged Trump to fire multiple national security officials. She, in turn, is Venmo friends with other far-right knuckleheads, including Milo Yiannopoulos and Nick Fuentes. Oh, there we go. The Holocaust denier and white supremacist whom Trump dined with in 2022. Notice also found the Venmo of a prominent Doge staffer, Christopher Stanley. You'd think this guy would know. Oh, wow. Oh. Oh. Christopher Stanley, a Doge employee whose Venmo was linked on his public Twitter account, featured a number of public transactions, including one labeled .y. Whatever that is, and another made up solely of 18 eggplant emojis. Wow. Solely of 18 eggplant emojis. We all know what the eggplant means. Stanley is listed as a principal security engineer at SpaceX, security engineering senior director at Twitter, and the chief information security officer at Twitter Payments. I refuse to call it by the letter. The transactions division of Twitter, per information on his account. A representative for Venmo directed notice to its helpful information page, which forbids transactions that are fraudulent or violate applicable law. After notice asked about the possibility of someone sending a payment to a government official and then closing their account so money couldn't be returned, Venmo directed notice to its user agreement, which bars the closing of a Venmo account to evade an investigation. Of course, it's not just the Trump White House that's chock full of public Venmo use. Former DNC chair Jamie Harrison and current DNC chair Ken Martin each have hundreds of friends publicly listed on their Venmo accounts. Why do you friend somebody on your Venmo account? And in 2021, BuzzFeed News easily identified Joe Biden himself, Crazy Uncle Joe, on the app. Notice additionally found a number of former senior Biden officials still on Venmo, including former Chief of Staff Ron Klain, former White House Communications Director Ben LaBault, and former Press Secretary Jen Psaki. Each account is loaded with connections to New York Times reporters and other journalists. I guess we need to do an episode either on the OPSEC or just where all these leaks in Washington are coming from. I'm well behind the need to take a break, so let me do that really quick. When we come back, I'm liking this notice thing. I just wish they had something in audio. Like if they had one, I found a wire service that uses voice actors to put their stories to audio. I wish they had without notice indication. I got to look at that because I'm liking what I'm finding here. This is good stories. All right, I got to take a break. Let me do that. When we come back, more notice. I think I'm going to try to figure out what notice stands for. I know OTUS is of the United States, but where's the N coming from? What are we using? All right, let's do this. We'll be right back. You're watching or listening to Up the Middle on the Massive Media Network. Stay tuned. Won't be long. What are you doing later? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to the gym, but not just any gym. Momentum Fitness and Wellness. Walk right up to the door. There's a QR code on the door. You can sign up right there. You've got no excuse. But not only that, their equipment is amazing. It's kept up well. It's expanded. There's stretching area. There's CrossFit. There's hardcore training. A dedicated area for stretching, dunk tanks, sauna, everything you need to get that Hernando beach body or keep your Clearwater beach body. You can train with your shirt off, you can scream, you can yell, and you won't be intimidated either. Go to Momentum Fitness and Wellness on US 19 in Bayonet Point, Jasmine Estates. Build the momentum. I'm getting in a Facebook fight. With a guy who knows absolutely nothing. It was always all over Facebook. Yeah. Speaking of which, a teacher friend of mine just posted 2 days ago the meltdown was strategy to refinance the debt. Now it's strategy to quote unquote save the market. And this guy named Tom Graver says, yeah, sucks when markets go down. It sucks worse when they go back up. No, it doesn't suck worse. This Tom Graver guy is a huge Trumper. Doesn't know anything that he's talking about. And now we'll talk next about Trump. He meant it when he said it. Buy the dip. Because now, today's thing shot up. But anyway, I need to tell you about Build the Space. They're an amazing company that's helping me out get all over the web. One of the ways I do it is their product called Biz Growth Collective. You can learn more about that and other services that Build a Space does by going to, there we go. By going to build a .space. And Ken's telling me we're not on the Up the Middle Facebook account. Okay, let's see where we're live today. Oh yeah, unable to connect. Why is it not connecting there? It says 8 out of 8, but it's not. We also don't seem to be connected to Rumble. Here I am plugging Rumble. Resending the data. See if that does it. No, it is unable to connect. I will have to connect that. I'll delete it and reconnect it. And thanks, Ken, if you're listening. Superfan Ken checking in. So go to build a space. Then also go to B-I-Z, growthcollective.com. And I probably can't update those channels because we're already live, but I'll definitely let you know later. I'm also on my personal account on YouTube or Facebook, and also my professional page. And we're on DLive, Twitch. Twitch is working as it should. So you can watch us on yours.com because that's fed there. YouTube, we're on Talk TV 24. I got to reconnect. I got to figure out which one I want to lose so I can reconnect the upper middle YouTube channel also. I got to connect the upper middle page on Facebook. That's kind of why it's there. And Yours Media on Rumble. I don't know what's going on with that. We had to reconnect it the other day, but I thought it was reconnected. Let me tell you where I had to get a hold of everybody before we lose some of the people that we're going to lose here on the radio. I'm going to put up some QR codes for biz growth and everything. Let's see. Yeah, let's use that one for Biz Growth Collective. Sign up and join today. I get no kickback from that. I'm just supporting their business the way they're supporting mine. We're essentially doing a lot of, I don't really do affiliates anymore, but this was something that was key. And up there in the corner is the Build the Space. I thought I could move that over to the other side. Yep, there we go. A little better over there. Build a Space is up in the top corner. Check them out. And Biz Growth Collective at the bottom of the screen. You can still call 1-888-88-YERGS or 844-GAY-LGBT. Tell me what you got going on with the hypocrisy. Are you on Venmo? Did you buy the dip? Because apparently stocks are rallying today. I haven't checked it since before the show. We can do that now quick. Really? Come on. Americans have 401ks, not cash lying around to buy stocks. Yeah. I'm trying to find the actual prices, though. You'd think there would be something that... What is the business one? Not CNBC. Is it CNBC or MSNBC? Trump blinked on tariffs. Yeah. What's he say about how strong he is? And he blinked on tariff. Yeah. Again. I mean, didn't he do it back and forth with Canada and Mexico? So, ironically, no sooner do I point out that you're not seeing the Trump kids take part in T-Rump 2.0. Now, all of a sudden, DJ TJ is off to Romania. And he said something stupid the other day that we capitalized on. I forget what that was. But yeah, before we run out of time here, I want to tell you where everybody's at. So let me go through some plugs and we'll get started with hour number 2. Our meetup group, Internet Terrestrial Radio Group, or just Radio Roundtable, as we're calling it now. If you're in broadcasting, anything in broadcasting really, it doesn't even have to be radio, but certainly terrestrial, internet, and now even shortwave radio. Sign up for that. It's a great group. I really like the people that we've got in that so far. It's new, it's young, but definitely something that's been great. If you're in one of those areas, Moscow, some parts of Ukraine, China, and you can't really message us, this email address right here is a great way to do it. You want a vacation? You want to learn more about the hotel property in Belize? Write me at my hotel address, Yergz, Yergz, at chezyrgz.com. CHEZYERGZ. If you're not in one of those areas, but are on the Nature Coast or northern part of the Tampa Bay of Florida, I got a perfect group for you. The Sea Ranch Civic Association. It's in Pasco County. Go to mysrca.com. Check them out today. I'm going to continue plugging them because I'm getting my van wrapped soon, and I'm going to be driving that around those 2 particular areas, Nature Coast and northern Tampa Bay. So I'm hoping that'll jump. The Capital Switchboard is 202-224-3121. Give them a call. Ask to speak to your state senator and your congressman and tell them Doge gotta goge. This has got to stop. DNR Studios, back from their cruise, so check them out live at 5 p.m. Eastern. Remember to use, what do we use? What is that? WorldTimeBuddy.com to figure out the time where you're at, if you're a pretty decent distance away. 5 p.m. Eastern, Derek and Romaine on DNRstudios.com and the DNR Cast mobile app. Jane Stahl is the manager of Studio B in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. Their website, studiobbb3bs.org. She's also the co-editor of Boyertown Area Expression. That's our town's digital newspaper. Go to boyertownareaexpression.town.news for more or to contact her there. Philip Blackett was with us yesterday. We're starting to rough him up a little bit. Stay tuned. We'll be, it's kind of getting easy. His socials are at Philip Blackett, Philip with 1 L, Blackett with 2 T's. Matt will be joining us tomorrow. Matt Deemer is the host of Daily Crypto News and the co-host of Up the Middle Friday Fights. You can find out more about him at dailycryptonews.net and deemerforcongress.com. Write him, Matt at dailycryptonews.net or info@deemerforcongress.com. You can get us all by writing news, NEWZ, at Yergz, YERGZ.com. You can also send those poems to Jane through this email. Remember on Monday, she said about the poem features that they're doing throughout the month of April in the Daily Expression. You don't have to be a member, or there's no membership, and there's no, you don't have to be a resident of Boyertown or anything like that. And you don't have to even write the poem. If there's just one that you like, feel free to forward for review and publication. To find out more, go to yergz.com or mastiff.media for show notes and other info. And Sportcat's Daily Gazette would normally be following in about an hour from now, will be replaced this week by Mastiff Media Magazine. He'll be back, estimation to be next week, but that's up in the air right now because of the family situation that he's dealing with. All right, so he meant it when he said it. Buy the dip. He told you. Buy the dip. Now there's a dip. There was a dip. Now there's a way up. And I don't know. This one's by Evan McMorris Santoro and Shifra Dayak. Again, with notice. I'm liking this, so I'm going to do another story from it. And it's showing the hypocrisy that's rampant. That first story I was you were sitting there thinking, oh, this is all MAGA, and boom, there's Joe Biden. So about that Be Cool post, Wednesday morning, 3 minutes after the New York Stock Exchange opened for trading amid fears of a recession triggered by Donald Trump's massive global tariff program, the president took to Truth Social to urge investors to, quote, be cool. A few minutes after that, he posted, "This is a great time to buy DJT." Shares of his media company, which trades under the symbol DJT, rose a lot. But the rest of the market kind of puttered along. I am signed up. Now it's probably going to say that this is a duplicate account. Oh, I got to do this again? I don't. I got these open on different tabs, and I don't want to lose them because I got to put them into the show notes so you can access them later. All right. It turns out that it was, in fact, a really great time to buy. At 1:18 p.m., Trump posted that the tariff program above the new 10% baseline was on pause for 90 days, except for China. The Dow shot up like a rocket, though it still closed around 6% lower than it was on Inauguration Day. This is market intelligence. And then there's the man with the power to set tariffs at will, directly telling you to buy stocks and then effectively making stocks go up. Trump was just issuing confidence into the market with the great time to buy advice. A White House official told Notice Jasmine Wright, who got the backstory on a wild day. Trump began privately talking about a pause in his tariff plan Tuesday night. An official told her. The final decision came Wednesday. Scott Bessent, supportive and advocate for the pause. Jasmine reports Howard Lutnick was ecstatic about Trump's move. Lutnick has been raked over the commentariat calls for his media tour, trying to sell the tariffs. Life imitates the art. Oh boy. Republicans, some of whom had been openly skeptical of Trump's tariffs plan, said the multiple surprises that came Wednesday had long been foretold. It kind of proves that Trump's a good deal maker. No, he's not. This is disgusting. This is not a joke. It kind of proves that Trump's a good deal maker. In fact, I'd like to hire him to buy some farmland for me in Iowa, said Senator Chuck Grassley. Trust the plan. This is the art of the deal, said Senator Roger Marshall on Twitter. See? ? Trust the president, said Rep. Dan Crenshaw. Do these people understand that was just one afternoon and it's still not back up like it was reported here? Not back up to what Biden had it at? This was brilliantly executed by @RealDonaldTrump. Textbook art of the deal. Read a Twitter post from investor Bill Ackman, who wrote a super long anti-tariff screed earlier in the morning that concluded with, May cooler heads prevail. Talking about hypocrisy. Dealing with it on C-SPAN. Jamieson Greer, the U.S. Trade Representative, was hours into a House hearing defending the president's tariffs plan when the plan was effectively upended. WTF? Who's in charge? Rep. Stephen Horsford asked Greer after the pause was announced. Asked if he knew the pause was coming when he sat down at the witness table, Greer gave a non-answer. Typically, what I don't do is divulge the contents of our discussions with the president. That's a no. A conservative law firm is suing Trump over tariffs, as most Republicans hold their fire. Somebody's got balls. Oh, now Josh Hawley doesn't like Mark Zuckerberg. They were all buddy-buddy on Inauguration Day. I sometimes just got to stop. Do you get that feeling? You're like, the Congress, the White House, or just the Supreme Court, they're just all filled with asshats. Hypocrisy is the least of their problems. Let's go into the chat. See who's here today. Oh, Demented Jackass. Thanks for checking in, Demented Jackass. Selling, get the best viewers. Yeah, no. Nope. No thanks. Oh, where's got a lot of new people in Instagram today. Welcome everybody. I can actually see identities there. I can't see it on like Facebook or the others unless you guys comment. But yeah, I think it's also time to. Oh, that sounds like a. Yeah, I'm actually closing my face because there's some other people messaging me there too, and it's kind of interrupting the show. Yeah, Trump blinked on tariffs, and even the MAGA PR machine can't hide why. I like that title. I mean, it just shows the ineptitude, the impotence of this administration. This is from MSNBC. Trump burned the stock market with tariffs, then took credit for slowing the blaze. Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's it, guys. Here's Ari Melber. Let's pause this, rewind, bring up some volume, and play. Here's Ari, the beat.
On wild swings in the markets today, which had crashed on President Trump's massive tariffs, building the pressure that led him to partly back down today. Trump announcing a new cut to his own new tariffs, something he and other aides had ruled out as recently as a few days ago. And this cut comes without foreign countries giving the U.S. anything tangible yet. His Treasury Secretary came out to promise the world today and the markets that there is a ceiling now, so that the worst may be over, and this ceiling.
Is anybody else tired of the speculation that goes on in finance? We do all kinds of work to invest in real estate, our own homes, to reinvest in real estate after tragedies like Hurricane Helene and Milton and fires. And yet here these people are on the world stage affecting global markets with tweets. Do that to my house. Elon, go back to doing it to Bitcoin. Make yourself useful.
Is something that means the flailing tariff standoff, according to the Trump White House, will not get worse, at least for everyone but China. That's the summary. Now, we're going to get to the details, and I'm actually about to show you how this played across Wall Street and across politics today. But let's just start, as we try to do around here, with the core evidence. And I have three things we can see clearly. One, Trump's tariffs are partly paused now, and that is designed to calm markets, and it is calming markets.
I love how the network legacy journalists like Ari here are now doing we don't wear power ties anymore. It now matches the rest of our suit. He's got the scruffy look going. Yeah, before it was all clean shaved and very proper, and now he's cool.
They also, though, continue at 10% rates, which is widely viewed as a fairly unsustainable plan. Two, the market panic that we saw did melt into this huge rebound, and many are eager to believe that Trump's new line is somehow sturdier than his past claims. So we saw the rebound today of people saying, let's take the good news more seriously than some of the uncertainty and the bad news in the markets. And finally, in this summary, three, Donald Trump backs down. Yeah. That is the clear fact of it. That's the New York Times headline. That's what Wall Street likes. Unlike Tom Petty, who's saying, I won't back down, I won't be turned around, Trump did back down today. Unlike 50 Cent, who memorably rapped, it's easy to see when you look at me, if you look closely, 50 don't back down. Well, it's one thing Trump does not have in common with them. Trump do back down, if you will. All right, with those three clear points in mind that are not really in dispute here in reality, let's now look at how all this went down.
There will be a 90-day pause on the reciprocal.
Okay, so first of all, there's that loudmouth. Oh, go back to teaching kindergarten. What I'm really anxious to see, and what's his name, the blind guy, the one-eyed guy, tried to play it off as like, see, it wasn't so bad. I really want to see how this gets spun. I think we should check out Fox next to be fair and balanced.
Tariffs as these negotiations are ongoing, and the tariff level will be brought down to a universal 10% tariff.
Things can change rapidly. Markets have just been so volatile in recent days. You almost can't look away.
This guy's cute. I'm not usually into the spicy cumin guys, but this guy's not bad looking.
Because you might miss a 1% move in either direction.
This was driven by the president.
This guy, on the other hand, not so much, and he's actually gay.
Strategy. He and I had a long talk on Sunday, and this was his strategy all along.
It's obviously a relief rally for markets.
We've had more than 75 countries contact us, and I imagine after today there will be more.
Are the numbers I'm seeing on my screen correct here for the Dow? Are we up 840 points right now? Dana, I'm watching this literally glitching in gap. We're up 900 points. This is yeah, okay. There. Wow.
Is this real? Wow.
No, it's temporary. It's real. Yeah, it happened. But wait till he gets bored golfing and he says, I want to put out another tariff again. And I'm telling you what's happening. Eric, DJ TJ, Ivanka, they're all home buying that dip. Thanking daddy for it. That's what all of them are doing. Here it is, billionaires. That was your tax break. You just paid for your taxes in one afternoon.
Wow. And those are the people in our sister network, CNBC, but among other financial journalists, the people who track this for a living and are still like, whoa, how did that much capital come flooding back into the markets? So that is a good thing that comes after a larger bad thing that is not over. All of this Trump-induced, much of it feeding
Thank you,
uncertainty.
Ari.
Ordinary Americans are still going to be paying what everyone has been calling this Trump tax, because at least under the new announcement, there's still a large tariff in play. Could amount to thousands of dollars a year, depending on what you buy. The fact is that while Trump is backing down, he's still claiming to do the 10% tariff, which raises prices. And it's been an interesting...
Look how small his hands are. I forget who said about that he has small hands, but I never noticed that until I heard whoever it was say it. Yeah. He's got like little baby mittens. I used to call Mitt Romney mittens. I got to call him mittens. Mittens Trump, mittens T-Rump.
Week, and a costly one thanks to Trump policies, but most experts and participants view this as a self-induced American economic disaster without much clear upside, other than someone who took so much money out that when it came flooding back, they can say, look, it's not as bad as the thing we started. Some are also clamoring to try to help Donald Trump get into a place where he continues to back down and give the whole thing up. Some claim this was a strategy, or that he won something in the hopes of maybe trying to flatter him.
That's what I want to see.
Into a less embarrassing off-ramp to get us all past this. But factually, when it comes to trade policy, even before you get to China, this thing isn't over right now. The current reduced tariffs carry some of the same risks that we've heard experts and MAGA allies and billionaire hedge fund managers all deride over the past week, albeit at a lower volume. I told you I'd get into the details. Well, consider...
They're not going to do it at a higher volume because they need to say it because it's the truth. But they don't want to say it because it's going to piss off T-Rump. That's it.
How it was reported just last week when the tariffs first went into effect and we were looking at the 10% tariff. So we've deliberately showed you a slightly older headline. This is Reuters or The Guardian, referring to what is today's reality, a 10% tariff, smashing global trade norms, a seismic shift to global trade, a big bad deal at 10%. So Donald Trump has done something that many people try to do in politics or sales. They sometimes call it the anchoring effect. If I scare you at 20% and bring it down to 10, it feels like a relief. If you started out at 0 or 2 and jump up to 10, you go, oh my gosh. And so we don't know what the markets will do any more than we know what Donald Trump will do. But very recently, the experts viewed 10% as a problem. Now that's the reduced norm. Markets relieved about that. But there is still far higher uncertainty about U.S. trade policy, about U.S. credit, even about the full faith and credit of the United States and the Treasury markets and all that stuff and details if you want to get into it, because we're still in the middle of Trump backing off, but not ending his self-induced risky tariff trade war.
Let's be clear what happened. Who capitulated here and why? And, I don't want to say this because I'm a patriot. I'm an American. But it is the White House who capitulated. He did everything right.
Stop. I'm a patriot. Listen to me, guys. You, right now, listening on Facebook, watching on Facebook, listening, watching. Maybe you're standing right outside my window. You're not a patriot. Patriots are not self-identified. You do not call yourself a patriot. You will never see, I don't care what I do. I don't care if I save the world, let alone the country. You're never going to see me put the word patriot in my social media profile. You're never going to see me sit there on MSNBC and call myself a patriot. Or actually, that was on Fox News. You're never going to see me call myself a patriot. That's your job to define me and identify me as a patriot. And if you don't feel that I am one, do not call me one. That's how that goes. So this fat slob calls himself a patriot. He's probably a Christian and a dad and a brother and all those good old wholesome family things. He's probably an adulterer, maybe. Because down here in Florida, they all seem to be connected to that too. Ugh.
Right to the edge
He
and
did,
then
he
pull
did
back.
right. Well, yeah, you could look at it that way, or you could look at it, the gun was at his head. I mean,
Okay.
what happened last night was very bad.
Okay.
All right, so
Now you got me liking you, dude. Yeah, exactly. China said, we're making your products, and our employees, after working 8 hours a day in your factory, go right next door into our factory and do the same thing. Did you know that? When the iPhone is made in China, for example, the employees that work at the Apple factory in China go right next door to an identical factory and make more iPhones for 8 more hours a day.
It feels a little bit of a relief here, but I have to say 10% tariff is still a massive reordering of U.S. trade and global trade, and certainly is not an eradication of the risks that we had seen in the past week.
Let me clarify something here.
And by the way, here's what happens so many times in situations like this. How much do you want to bet prices don't drop? How much do you want to bet that a mile from my house at that Circle K, that it stays at $3 or more a gallon for 87, or that eggs are $5 or $6 a dozen? $5, so you can handle that. It's just one item that has more than doubled. Yes, in part during the in part during the Biden administration. But at least then things were getting better. NASDAQ, S&P, all of them hitting record highs. Not just like for a season or for this time of year compared to other years, like forever. But that was Biden's fault. That he simply, I don't know, maybe wasn't finished when he got removed from office, essentially.
Here, this is a long way from fully backing off. This still leaves the United States as the most tariff-heavy, industrialized country in the world.
Is he sounding Australian? This dude sounding like he's from down under too? Shout out to our boys on Radio X and girls on Radio X, radiox.com.au in Perth, Australia. We've got an Aussie here chewing out the president. Like it.
And it's not even close.
He has permanently injected that uncertainty into markets. You can't really put the tariff threat toothpaste back in the tube.
I think it still raises the question of why are other countries going to deepen their ties with us after we punch them in the face?
All of this, a reflection of a...
Yet Canada said our relationship with the United States will never be the same. Why should it be? Yeah. I mean, when one president tells Ukraine, drop your nuclear weapons program and we'll defend you for life, another one comes in and is buddy-buddy with Putin, who just attacked you for a second time. What are they supposed to think? We're going to wrap up with Marty. Take a break. Marty. We're going to Ari. We're going to wrap up with Ari and then take a break.
A policy that was such a failure after saying they weren't going to lower tariffs, they weren't backing down, they weren't open negotiations, and they fought each other about that. They've backed down, but left these tariffs in place. And the voices we just showed you, you might notice, are a little different from when we're covering legislation. And we see a lot of politicians. Those were financial experts, financial journalists, people tapped into that world saying this is still a huge problem. Now, Trump is saying other countries have been reaching out to make deals.
Yeah, I'm not tapped into that world. I'm in a different world. We call it common sense. We call it some sort of awareness in that, yes, this 10% is still there. You know, we're not back to a status quo. We're still back to a level of unbalance that's caused by us. He kept saying that these were or that he was responding or whatever. I forget what it was. But that if they respond to the tariffs he just put in, well, he's going to have to respond to that. No, they're the ones rebalancing things. Oh, this isn't that hard, is it? Am I that brilliant that I'm the only one that gets this? RE2, maybe?
Well, of course.
Of course I'm brilliant. Okay. Thanks, Ari. I appreciate that.
You're going to reach out when you look at this kind of situation. But Trump was also very clearly rattled through the reporting by how things could get far worse than the drops I showed you leading into this morning.
I've got to get that of course clip and make it into a soundbite. Is Matt that stupid? Of course. Got to pick on Matt tomorrow.
There isn't a red or blue America when a president's policies wipe out.
Oh, this is an 11-minute segment coming up next. I want to make sure that first video is in the link. I'll do that after the. I'll look at that. I'll do that after the show. All right, it is about 20 after 12. 12:23, actually. Well, 23 after the hour, whatever the hour is where you're at. Let me take a break. When we come back, I want to go back to Notice. Oh, I just figured it out. Notice, like Notice. And that's cool. But I still got to learn what this stands for. Yeah, we'll figure that out too when we get back. You're listening to or watching Up the Middle, Politics for the Rest of Us, from Yergs, a voice that sounds like yours on the Mastiff Media Network. There it is. All right, we'll be back after this. What are you doing later? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to the gym, but not just any gym, Momentum Fitness and Wellness. Walk right up to the door. There's a QR code on the door. You can sign up right there. You've got no excuse. But not only that, their equipment is amazing. It's kept up well. It's expanded. There's stretching area. There's CrossFit. There's hardcore training, a dedicated area for stretching, dunk tanks, sauna, everything you need to get that Hernando beach body or keep your Clearwater beach body. You can train with your shirt off, you can scream, you can yell, and you won't be intimidated either. Go to Momentum Fitness and Wellness on US 19 in Bayonet Point, Jasmine Estates. Build the momentum. Well, I want to talk about Rumble, but I'm not on there today. So I got to reconnect that and the Facebook page that Ken told me about. You can still go to rumble.com/register/YergsMedia. Sign up today. I wonder if I was dinged there too. Oh, that's going to bug me till I get to do it. Rumble.com/register/YergsMedia. And check out They're extras when you pay for it, just like on YouTube and other platforms. Or if you're a content creator, check out Rumble Studio. Rumble.com/register/Yergs Media. Somewhere I gotta put a reminder. I gotta see what's wrong with that one too. Yeah, I wish this would stay on longer. If there's no activity, it detects that and it shuts the music off. I could listen to it. I like chill music like this, especially for like background. I don't necessarily sit and listen to it, but it is good background music. Let me know if you think that's too loud. I heard my levels before being replayed editions, and it was actually really faint. It was actually more problematic than it was anything. Let me know how this sounds. Let's get back. So I found Welcome to Notice. I don't know. It doesn't say though, unless it's just a play on words. Oh, excuse me. Oh, there's the guy that did the story on the. This is the guy that did the story on the Venmo. Mark Alfred. Maybe we can get him to be a contributing writer for Massive Media. I just hope we make it to 2 years. Porter, an AJI fellow. That's got to be a School of Journalism. American Journalism Institute? Maybe. AJI Fellowship is Albatron Journalism Institute. There you go. So it still doesn't say what Notice stands for. Is it also a century or so ago? Associated Press editor Walter Phillips came up with POTUS and SCOTUS as shorthand to break news faster via telegraph, which launched Notice, not because we love our acronyms or ancient newswire history, but because we believe, now more than ever, there it is, News of the United States. Dun-dun-dun. All right, that's what it is. But I like that Notice is nonprofit, we're nonpartisan. Well, others will tell you what's happening. But what you should think about it, me, we're focused on bigger questions. Why? Why is Washington the way it is? Oh, good question. And what drives the people who make it so? It's something else that's unique about Notice. It's produced by a newsroom like no other. Okay. Oh, here it is. Albatron Journalism Institute. We're a product of the Albatron. No, I'm thinking Arbitron. The ratings, Arbitron and Birch back before Nielsen took over in radio. Albrit, I got to keep saying that because I'm going to screw it up. I'm going to go back to Arbitron. We're a product of the Albritton Journalism Institute, a new journalism education organization founded by Robert Albritton, the former publisher of Politico. There you go. At AJI, we're training the next generation of great journalists by pairing some of the country's most promising up-and-coming reporters, individuals from different regions, different backgrounds, and different beliefs, with some of the most accomplished journalists working in Washington today. Together, we cover government and politics with the fresh eyes of newcomers and the expertise of veterans. We'll call it like we see it, no matter whose narrative it fits, or how many clicks it will get. For the latest from Notice, please sign up for I'm on the daily newsletter twice now. To share your thoughts on our, and you know what? I'll put that link, by the way, in the show notes. I can put it in the chat too. Nobody in the chat today. You guys are quiet. Let me go back here. There we go. To share your thoughts on our coverage, please reach out to me directly. And to learn more about AJI or to apply to join next year's class of fellows, please visit the AJI site. We're grateful to have you here. We're excited to show you what we're about. Tim Grieve, Editor-in-Chief. That's this guy here. Tim is the Executive Director of the Albritton Journalism Institute and the Editor-in-Chief of Notice. He was the founding Editor-in-Chief of both Politico Pro, and Protocol. Previously, he was the editor-in-chief of the Stanford Daily, a reporter at the Sacramento Bee, a senior writer at Salon, the Congressional Bureau Chief and Managing Editor for Politico, and editor-in-chief of the National Journal, and the Vice President of News at McClatchy, publisher of the Miami Herald. Jesus Christ, dude. Settle down somewhere, will you? Publisher of the Miami Herald and more than 24 other newspapers around the country. What is this, your retirement job? Wow. I mean, that's some experience right there. I'm guessing the publishers of more than 24 newspapers around the country, it was all at the same time. Because so many different newspapers are becoming conglomerates. We've talked about that before. And that's why I want to bring daily local news on some sort of daily level back to local people by local people. Yeah, I got to reach out to these folks. See if we can do some partnership with Master Media. Link was in the message. So, yeah, what else did I say we were going to do? Do you remember? And Ken, if you're replying to my direct Facebook Messenger, I closed that tab because half the rest of the world were replying there, not in the chat. I don't know if that's who it was. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I didn't get it. Yesterday was so productive, and Mastiff Media Magazine was so awesome. But I did it all day. I haven't even started it yet, so the edition that's going to follow the show is going to suck. But that's why I kind of get on Facebook and some of these other platforms and say, hey, you know what, we're hiring if you want a hobby, because we're hobbyists right now. We're also selling ad spots so we can pay people. Trump news. Let's see what's happening there. Trump's big, beautiful tax agenda scores major victory in House. Yeah, let's do that. I wanted to see how like Fox News. Let's just go right to that. Oh, this is why is this one coming up? So I had searched this weeks ago when he walked off the stage at Saturday Night Live, like real early in the credits, the closing credits, and the rest of what I was searching came up in the history, and so I just hit enter, not realizing it was not taking me to. Oh, damn it! Not realizing it was not taking me to the Fox News homepage. Trump's big, beautiful tax agenda scores big win in House despite GOP rebellion threats. Man who... Here's what I don't get. We take prized possession photos now with prisoners? Man who threatened ICE agents, which is wrong. Don't get me... But now this article on Fox. Oh, there's Kristi Noem holding a gun like she knows what she's doing.
Here we are with Marco and Brian today. They're letting me roll with
and did you see that? She just turned. Oh, this dizzy bitch. Don't give her a gun, guys. Come on. She's a secretary. That's all. So in the beginning of this video, watch, she turns to her left and brings the gun to her left and points the gun right at the guy's head. Oh, what are you guys doing? You know better. Stop thinking with your dicks. Don't. Just stop. Give her a tour of everything that you're doing and whatever and let it go. This is the one I don't get. A judge ordered Robert King. Let me turn the music down so I can hear myself think right now. Damn. A judge ordered Robert King, 35 of Texas, to remain locked up on charges of transmitting interstate threats during a detention hearing in Dallas on Wednesday. Yeah, got no problem with that. You're going to threaten or anywhere make any sort of notion of harming or whatever my colleagues in the law enforcement community. I don't want to see you get. Now I got some fly buzzing the tower. I don't want to see you get out either. But this photo, what are we doing, guys? Is it? Did you go hunting? Is this your prize shoot? Due process. Get him out of the car and into the court. That's it. State police. I get HSI. I think is what that is. Yeah, Department of Homeland Security is the credit for the photo. Yeah, that's HSI. Oh, Jesus. You're not a press agency. The FBI is the one that does the press conferences, and they don't even parade somebody in front of cameras like this. Come on. Oh, there she is with her hat on, CBP. But she's got her makeup on, too. That's important. God forbid you go on the front lines not looking fashionable and Republican attractive. No mercy for the Gestapo. Well, There are some aspects of that statement that I actually agree with, in a non-violent level, of course. But with everything else I'm sure that he's being charged with, that's probably not a good thing to say. During his Wednesday hearing, a government attorney said King's social media threats came to light through the national FBI tip line. Somebody ratted. Yeah, I don't get why you would say or even do. What was the one thing? There was the lacrosse coach about an hour drive north of where I'm at. Another Christian, another good father, lacrosse coach. Sex with a dog. Matrix pops his head up like, what? No. Yeah, no. Go back to sleep, Matrix. He's actually still sleeping. He didn't move. But not only was he having sex with his dog, he was filming it. Why? When I go to my own cookie jar, I don't film it. I don't want to see it later. I don't want anybody to see it. You know, that reminds me, I should probably show parts of this to Travis Evans from Tuesday Nights. Sent me something, or maybe I saw it on his own post. I don't know. No. I'm reading a post of his, what sounds like an opportunity to make a self-defense claim. He's talking about the stabbing in Texas, in Collin County, at basically a town that was built by Jerry Jones from the Cowboys. There was a track meet, and when you have a multi-school track meet, each school puts up a little tent, and their athletes sit out of the sun underneath this tent if they're not competing. And this one kid who's black goes over to this other school's tent, and I'm told it was in like a effort to, get in with the girls. And this kid that was killed told dude to scram. And Austin, I think it is, Metcalf, told dude to scram. Dude says, F you. So he goes to push the kid out. The white kid pushes the black kid out of the tent from underneath the tent. It's not like a tent with walls. It's just a canopy. And the black kid reaches into his backpack, his gym bag that he brought with him to the other team's tent, pulls out a knife and buries it in this kid's chest. And now everybody's screaming that the black kid was acting in self-defense. Yeah, maybe the kid pushed him out. But the kid was told to leave while essentially trespassing. Not legally, because it's school property. They're all on school property. But when it's common knowledge at these track meets that when these teams pitch their team tent, it is for that team. Why is this kid carrying a knife in a backpack that he then carries over to somebody else's tent and stabs an opposing team's athlete with it after engaging in confrontational behavior? He's in their tent. 1, he was told to leave. 2, he didn't leave. 3, he challenged them first. 4, all of this is documented by multiple witnesses. I don't know where the Self-defense comes in. Yeah, I'm going to stir the pot here because I know some of these guys are defending the black kid or also saying, not everything's out yet. So what was I looking for? Oh, I was looking. This is the show I was talking about, by the way. The Point with Travis Evans. Why can't, when you're on something like this, why can't I just, there we go. Trapdoor Media Group. I'll put this in the chat so you can get that easily. Also put it in the show notes. So I got to backtrack that, so I've got to put that in the show notes right now. Contacts at the bottom. The contacts, yes. There we go. It'll be in the contact section on the bottom. Contact us right by my email. There's Travis's. I can leave that there. I'll leave that there for other episodes. Let me see if he's posted since. Foxes are waiting in the henhouse for chickens that are coming home to roost. You all knew about this in 2012, 13 years ago. Oh, is this a thing about the tariffs and such? Probably. Yeah, this just goes to show my claim that MAGA is the rhinos, not the rest of the Republican Party. He posts some good stuff. I like what Travis does. All right. That was my... What else was I doing there? Was that kind of it, I guess? I think I talked about this already. Reciprocal tariffs. That's what I was trying to talk, as I was trying to remember. Nothing reciprocal about them. I really want to see what Romney had to say.
And let me put it very plainly. If we Republicans...
See if I can refresh. And let me put it very plainly. Where's the thing?
As our nominee, the prospects for a safe and prosperous future are greatly diminished. Let me explain why I say that. First, on the economy. If Donald Trump's plans were ever implemented, the country would sink into prolonged recession. A few examples. His proposed 35% tariff-like penalties would instigate a trade war, and that would raise prices for consumers, kill our export jobs, and lead entrepreneurs and businesses of all stripes to flee America. His tax plan, in combination with his refusal to reform entitlements and to honestly address spending, would balloon the deficit and the national debt. So even though Donald Trump has offered very few specific economic plans, what little he has said is enough to know that he would be very bad for American workers and for American families. But you say, wait. Isn't he a huge business success? Doesn't he know what he's talking about? No, he isn't.
I've been saying this. He gets elected by some of you idiots because he's a huge business success. I must be the new richest man in the world then. Because you know what? I'm in business and I haven't been bankrupt 6 times. I didn't screw anybody like Trump did. This is the guy I used to call Mittens, by the way. Mitt Romney.
And no, he doesn't. Look, his bankruptcies have crushed small businesses and the men and women who work for them. He inherited his business. He didn't create it. And whatever happened to Trump Airlines? How about Trump University? And then there's Trump Magazine and Trump Vodka and Trump Steaks and Trump Mortgage. A business genius he is not.
I forgot about some of those. I forgot about the vodka and the mortgage. I knew about the steaks. I knew about the university. He was sued badly in the university. And the Trump shuttle was the airlines. He bought out Eastern Airlines, who I think now is with US Air, who is now with American, I think.
And let me put it very plainly. If we Republicans choose Donald Trump as our nominee, the prospects for a safe and prosperous future are greatly diminished. Let me explain why I say that. First, on the economy.
That's repeated. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to put that in today too. That's key. I'll organize this thing later. All right. I have got to take a break. Well, actually, no, I'm going to let you know where everybody's at. I got to wrap up because I've also got to make sure that today's playlists are set for Mastiff Media Magazine. Trump Magazine. I never knew about that one. But I got to make sure that we're actually set for program guide Thursday. Mastiff Media Magazine is on here. Okay. So the metadata and the actual schedule are two different things. Playlist schedule and the metadata is different. Shout out to Toronto, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Tampa. That might be me. No, there's a couple there. So welcome everybody listening on Yerg's Radio. I wonder how we were for the show today. Good showing yesterday. You know, I notice when I put out something on social media before the show, there's a better turnout. I didn't get a chance to do it today. So there's not many people checking in at 11 o'clock. Play the schedules, what's coming up at 1300 or, in 6 minutes. Oh, look at that. I got to make a change there. Sportcats Daily Gazette is going to play, and there's no Sportcats Daily Gazette. So put that on. It'll be Mastiff Media Magazine for the next 5 hours, because we're not actually doing Mates Helping Mates, because we've got no editions. We've got no episodes. And right now I have to sit here and do it, transfer it over manually as we get it from their feed, because we can't do them automatically yet. So we're going to hold off until Monday when they actually get back onto a live, because they're on like a break right now too. But starting Monday at, that would be at 4 p.m. Eastern, Again, use World Time Buddy to figure it out for where you're at. Or for that show, you just go to radiox.com.au and get Mates Helping Mates. You can hear it here on Reerg's Radio and Rainbow Radio as well for the first hour. I like what they're doing. And I reached out to Scott and I said, hey, your talk is exactly what we're looking for here. Do you want to simulcast? And he's like, absolutely. So what they're doing is they're going to kind of re-wrench their first hour to have less to maybe even no music, because we don't have a music license, which is not what we do. So I said, if you want to keep with music, they can just cut our feed, have it on a separate encoder, and cut our feed when they go to music. And our playlist will pick up with like commercials. And, but we'll figure it out. I like what they're doing, and it gives them really good diversity and other options for you to tune in during the day, or reasons to tune in during the day. Again, meetup group. Check out our meetup group. Go to meetup.com and search Radio Roundtable. I've done this already. It's going to come up. Search Radio Roundtable. That's us. If you're in broadcasting, if you want to be in broadcasting, if you want to learn about it, if you're curious about it, you need something to do on the occasional night. We were doing every Friday night at first, and we're not doing it now. I was never going to stick with that. And the reason is I wanted to, because we've got Scott and folks from Radio X and other Aussies and some folks from the UK and EU and so on, I want to make it conducive to their schedules as well. Scott and I'm brain farting on her name. There was an Australian lady that joined us. It's right here. Christina Hareen. She joined us a couple of weeks ago on a Friday night that we had. It was a Saturday morning for them. And then on another occasion, Scott joined us on a Saturday morning. It's not really as convenient for them as what that seems, nor is it Friday nights good for any of us. So we're going to move that around, unlike the call that I was on today, which is every Thursday at 8 a.m. Every Thursday, our friend David Beckmeyer has been getting up at 4:30 a.m. because he's out on the West Coast. So he's ready by 5. Like, I would never have been going to that. God love him. God love him, man. All right, so in less than a minute, let's get ready for that. And less than a minute, Mastiff Media Magazine is up next. Stay tuned for that. I'll see you again tomorrow with Up the Middle Friday Fights. And, of course, Matt Deemer will be with us. Blake is gone. But if you know somebody that might be a good fit, we're happy to have you in. All right, until then, thanks for getting off the porch, running with the big dogs, and going up the middle. I'll see you again tomorrow.